Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It says, as we welcome everyone to come on in, come on in. Hallelujah. It says in Psalms chapter number 81 and verse number 3, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast days. For this was a statute for Yasharel, a law of Yahuwah of Jacob, or the El of Jacob. So it was a law or a ordinance. It was something. It was an instruction given to them that they were supposed to do. And so we blow the trumpet to start off our teachment, the services, our Shabbat services, um, the new moon, and we got a new moon coming up, I believe, in a matter of days. I have to check the calendar again, but we do have a new moon coming up. But it is a expectation of Yahuwah. Now, there's a lot of people who don't do it, but doesn't mean it's not being done around the world, what we call the world, the planet, the earth. It is being done by his people. It's not the majority of the world. It's not the majority of the people. We read in Romans chapter 11 where he said it was just a remnant according to the election. And he gave the example of 7,000 out of the whole nation of Yasharel, which at that time was in the millions, but he had 7,000 that had not bowed the knee to Baal. So it's not a lot of people, and it's even when he restores Yasharel back to the former glory, it's just going to be a remnant. He says it's just a remnant that's going to return. He said, as though Yasharel be as the sand of the sea, it's just a remnant that is going to return unto the Most High. And I know we have been framed in our thinking, in our understanding, in our belief. It's been framed around the teaching of the church fathers, what they call the church fathers. And they're the one that has taught us the Roman religion, and we, where I come from, apostolic Pentecostal background, and we would always say we're not the Catholic Church. We don't have nothing to do with the Catholic Church. But when you understand the whole ball, the whole bowl, the whole framing of the word Christian and Christianity, you have the church fathers, the Roman Catholic Church. Now, anything that opposed the Roman Catholic Church, like what we did, we were called what? Well, they called us heretics if you oppose the Roman Catholic Church. But what are they called? You're still in the same religion, but you're not Catholic. You're what? Protestant. So everybody is lumped in with Protestants. So you had the Baptists, Methodists, AME, Foursquare, Church of God in Christ, Apostolic Pentecostal. All of those are Protestant movements of that actually went against the Catholic Church. We're not the Catholic Church. Don't lump us in that pile, right? Don't put us in that pile of the Roman Catholic Church. And the only thing we were saying is you're Protestant because you still follow the same Roman religion that teaches that he is done with Yasharel and that the Roman religion has replaced Yasharel. That's not true. That simply is not true. I don't know how to be, I can't be so forceful with. I can't, beat it on people. I can't jump up and down and rattle the cage and spit but it's just simply not true. It's an untruth for somebody to make the statement that the Roman religion or the Gentile church has replaced Yasharel. That's a false statement. It's just a false statement. And even Paul said that, right, in 11th chapter of Romans. And he says, because there were some people saying, well, he did away with Yasharel. He's done with his people. And Paul says, Yah forbid. Yah forbid. I mean, there's no way that he is done with his people. And so where we're at today, as we see the day approaching, we're going to witness some things that the world has never seen before. It's going to be on a grand scale. There's a lot of things that's happening around the world with nations, and I would say you should pay attention to what's going on with the nations around the world. That should be a part of as you study and just kind of glean from it. And I know a lot of times we don't want to follow the news. A lot of times I was reading in Romans 11 today, and it's like sleeping gas. It's like there's just the whole land is full of sleeping gas. You know how they give you, it makes you sleepy, it makes you unaware, you become unattentive, it's not important to you, it's boring, so what? And people have fallen asleep when we should be, our spiritual antennas should be very high, should be very sensitive to the call of his voice and what is going on around the world. It should be very attentive to that. There shouldn't be anything in your life that would distract you from hearing the voice of Yahuwah, because he said throughout his Torah, obey my voice, hear my voice. He would say, hearken unto me. And I know we got scriptures, in the prophecy and the prophets that says, we will not hearken. We will not hear it. We're just not going to do it. We're just not going to do it, But that's Abba Yah. That's the Creator. That's our Creator. That's our Father. He's El Elyon. Everything we know, He created everything. You would not even be here if it wasn't for Him. None of us would. We just would not be here. He can just take the oxygen out of the air right now off of the land. We would all just drop dead. There's nothing you can do to force Yah to put air back in the atmosphere if He takes it all out. There's no, you can't counsel Him, you can't bribe Him, you can't do anything that will cause Him to not make a judgment, or once He makes a judgment call to pull back from that. But a lot of times we're unattentive to Him. He doesn't have the priority in our life. He doesn't have preeminence in our life. And if you ever feel yourself lacking, that's what they say now, you're lacking, right? If you ever feel yourself lacking, or you're just not up to par, or something's wrong, you need to shake it up. What did Shaul tell Timothy? What did he tell him to do? Stir up that gift in you. You might get to that place where, man, I don't know. I just, I'm not feeling nothing. I don't have no desire to hear Torah, the instructions. There's nothing, I'm not excited about any of the teaching or the gathering of His people. Just doesn't seem to fit in my life. I'm just more engaged with other things in my life right now that seems to be important to me, and what His word is just not important. I mean, if you ever find it, Shaul told Timothy, you need to stir up that gift in you, man. You need to stir that up. And what you do to stir that up is you have to have a fervent prayer life. And that's what we're trying to do. There should always be a prayer life. We're trying to keep prayer going, prayer life going. Got to have a fervent prayer life. Also fasting. Sometimes if your flesh is rising up, if every time I open up the book to read and I fell asleep, or it was not interesting to me, and I know, well, you're in that position. Yeah, I know. I get it. But I'm just thinking, if I was just the laity and His word wasn't something that I desired to read, and I had no time for it, that alarms ought to go off. I don't have no time for His word. I don't have no time for His people. I don't have no time to assemble. I don't have time. My life is full. My schedule's full. I work. I got a family. I got children. I got concerns. And everything gets attention when he is supposed to get your best. He's a tenth of your day should be given to him. That's at least 2 hours. 2 hours of your day should be set aside to either fasting, praying, reading, paying attention to my heart and analyzing my life. Am I bearing the fruits of the Spirit? Building, I haven't bore the fruits of the Spirit. I need to get into practice. Let me talk to my brother, my sister. Let me get engaged with something that, where his people are, because I want to bear the fruit. I want to bear some fruit. Because when Yahusha seen that fig tree and he went to get something off that leaf and there was nothing there, he cursed it, didn't he? He cursed it. It withered up and died. And so if you have a relationship with him, and it's a genuine relationship with him, it doesn't get, you might hit plateaus in your life, but it doesn't get, there's no fatigue in that relationship. I mean, it's something that I want to pursue every day. I wake up in prayer. It's just something I pursue every day. It's going through the day, am I bearing, when I'm talking to people involved, whether you're in school, in the classroom, whether you're upon the job, whether you're with your family, whether you're, whatever your business is, I'm conducting my business, or I'm taking care of business for the house, or whatever. Am I bearing fruit? Am I bearing fruit? Am I a tree? Because he says a tree is known by the fruit it bears. So am I bearing fruit? Or am I nice to everybody and mean to his people? I mean, sometimes I would wonder about that, where like when we was quote unquote in the church and stuff like, and folks were so friendly with co-workers and folks that we would say ain't saved, but then when they come to church to be with us, they want to bite our heads off. And it's like, how do you do that? How can you be that way to, and I'm kind of using old Christianity, verbiage and things. How could you be that way to unsaved in the world, but when you come amongst the saints and you ain't got nothing to do with the saints? I mean, if you ever find yourself in that condition or something like that, something ought to wake up, stir up that gift. Wait a minute, that's not how it's supposed to be. I shouldn't be overly friendly with people that's not in his body, and then when I'm in his body with his people, I can't build no relationships. I ain't got nothing good to say with nobody. I think my sweat don't stink. I don't want you looking at me. Don't sit too close to me. Or you when you eat and some food fell out your mouth, got on the table, and you just want to get. I mean, if you're starting to get like that, then something ought to wait a minute, time out. Wait a minute. I got to analyze myself. I got to look at myself. I got to turn things around, because even Yahusha, he turned from his family. When it says in the 12th chapter of Matthew, when it says, your family's standing without, they want you. They're saying, hey, brother, come on. You spending more time with them than you are with us. We're your family. We're your blood. Y'all know how it is. We're your blood. You need to spend time with us and not time with them folks over there. But what did Yahusha say to the people who was telling his family? What did he say to his family? He said, those that do the will of my Father, the same as my brother, same as my sister, same as my mother. He put the people of Yahuwah who was doing the will of his Father above his own blood, brothers and sisters. And that's kind of hard for a lot of us, because there's nothing wrong to being tied into family, because we're supposed to love our family. We are. But it's a matter of prioritizing and who has the preeminence. I can't put a brother or sister that doesn't even love Abba Yahuwah, don't love his word. You give them the commandments, they trying to break all of them. And I'd rather be with them than to be with a spiritual brother or sister that's trying to keep the commandments and live for Yahuwah. That's what he's trying to say. I mean, yeah, you got love for family, that's good, but don't put family above me. He even said that. He says, if anybody loves your father and mother more than you love me, you're not worthy of me. So it's a matter of prioritizing. And even in our life, we have to prioritize. I have to give time to Abba Yahuwah. I have to hear his word. I have to read his word. I have to pray. I have to fast. Some people's like, well, you ain't called no fast. I don't have to call a fast. The Bible tells us when to fast. He even told his disciples, he says, when I'm gone, you're going to fast. We're worried about calling a corporate fast. No, you need to fast. There's times where things rise up in your life, you should be fasting. Well, pastor ain't called no fast. That's that Christian mindset, because you think you got to be controlled. You got to be controlled. You got to have some man or some woman over you telling you what to do all the time. Pastor, can I do this? Pastor, what about this? What about that? Are you going to call a fast? Did you call a fast? Do you need to fast? Then fast. Click. You know what? You shouldn't be looking for me to call a fast. If you got problems and I got to get my flesh under control, well, then you ought to fast. Well, we used to fast every Wednesday. Well, what stopped you? Well, that don't cut it. That don't cut it. That don't cut it. You have a personal relationship with Yahusha. All of us should have a one-on-one personal relationship with him. And when you allow somebody to step in between you and your relationship with him, then you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. Because when it's time to plead with him face to face, you ain't going to have spouse there with you. You ain't going to have your children there with you. It's going to be you and him, and you got to give an account for yourself. And so if I'm weak, I have to realize that there's some strength. Sometimes the devil beats up on you, and you lose all self-control, self-confidence, and self-esteem. And you don't realize how strong you really are, because if you weren't nothing, he wouldn't be beating on your door all the time. He knows who you are, and so he tries to get you to, he tries to sever that relationship with Yahusha. And the way he can sever that relationship with Yahusha is by putting a wedge between you and your brother, causing discord amongst the brother. Because that's one thing Abba Yah hates. He says that, right? In Proverbs, the 6th chapter, he says, 6 things I hate, yea, 7th, that 7th one, it's abomination unto me. And then he goes on to list them. And that last one, that's abomination unto the Most High Yahuwah, is he that sows discord amongst his brethren. And so, when you find yourself, hey, wait a minute, time out, stop. Let me reevaluate this. Let me look at this. Let me analyze myself. And we just went through a period of self-evaluation and getting stronger. We ought to be stronger now. We ought to be stronger now. We ought to be getting ready, because what is happening on the world scene, I don't know when it's going to happen, but we're getting to that place where, the gathering of his people are going to be. And I know for some of us, some of us got that mindset that they're not going to be here when all these things fall apart and the judgment on these nations. They feel that they're not going to be here, and that is some of the things he said. I'm just going to pull this out. It's in Deuteronomy chapter 28, and this is not the only place that you'll see it, but he says in Deuteronomy 28 and verse number, because he talks about the wood and the stone, which was kind of like it falls under those curses. It falls underneath the curses. It's verse number 64. Now, notice this, Deuteronomy 28 is the blessings and the curses. It's the blessings and the curses. So you just the first 15 verses were the blessings, and then after that you have all these curses. So this is list. If you want to look at the of curses, this is in the category of the curses. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other Elohim, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. Wood and stone. Wood and stone. And those wood and stones, he's talking about those two major religions today. The wood would be Christianity and the stone is Islam. It's actually a curse. That's part of the curses, is to serve wood and stone. But when you're blind, you can't see. When you're blind, a lot of times when you're blind, people don't know they're blind. They just don't know that they're blind. So they can read this verse, that ain't talking to me, that ain't talking to us. Because when you can't see, you can't see. So these are being under this curse. That's why a lot of people are not waking up and will not wake up. I mean, he is going to reveal who his people are. Most High Yah is going to reveal who his people are. It says it in the 8th chapter of Romans, the manifestation of the sons of Yah. The world is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of Yah. And we're on the verge of that being revealed. These nations, as I stand here right now, and with what they want to do with, how many have been following how the United States and Israel is getting ready to bomb Iran? Nobody's been following that? A lot of rhetoric, a lot of talk. It's about to happen. It is about to happen. Israel is going to send missiles to Iran. Iran is going to retaliate. United States are going to get involved and retaliate. I'm leaving to Ghana next month on June 15th. Something can happen between now and June 15th. That's how close we are. And when I say something can happen, a missile, a strike in Iran, which is going to, Iran's going to defend. Who's going to stand and just let people throw missiles at them? As a sovereign nation, we wouldn't do it. Canada wouldn't do it. Mexico, no. Russia, China, all these other nations, they're not just going to stand. Oh, yeah, just bomb us. Yeah, come on, bomb us. Yeah, throw some missiles at us. Oh, good shot. You got another one? Come on. Blow up my cities. Kill it. They're not going to do that. They're going to have an air defense. They're going to fight back. It's not going to be long. We're not too far away from a surgical nuclear strike. We're not too far away from that. It's not going to hit here in the United States. It won't hit here first. It's going to be in foreign lands. But one of these days, you're going to hear that alarm, that siren go off like you hear. It's, what is it, the second Tuesday of every month at 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, they have that siren, you know, the warning signal goes out. And then when we have tornadoes, I've heard it a lot the last few days. We had a lot of winds and rain and stuff. I've heard it. But one of these days, you're going to hear that, and then it's not the second Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. I don't see no tornado out there or nothing, but you're going to hear those alarms because there's missiles and there's strikes that are coming. At one time, Rock Island Arsenal, I don't know if it still is, but at one time, Rock Island Arsenal was in the top 10 list, was on the top 10 of strikes of a foreign enemy. A foreign enemy strike was the arsenal was in the top 10. And the reason why is because that's where we build our arsenals for a lot of our ammunition and everything. So what good is a gun if you ain't got no bullets or AK or what do we have, those howitzers and stuff like that? If you have no ammo to put them in, what good is it? Yes. Yeah. Majority of it? Yeah. that they would hit. It's definitely a target. It's definitely a target. That's right over here. I mean, so we're not far from something like that happening. The first strike ain't going to be here in the States, no. But the more that we get engaged, and China's got Taiwan surrounded, and said that Taiwan is a part of China, a part of one China. And United States sends all this military ammunition, and they got a military base there and all these arms and everything. They send it to Taiwan, and China's playing the long game. They're playing the long game, and they're going to eventually have Taiwan, even if it's at the expense of the United States military. They're going to get Taiwan, and so you're going to have all of this stuff going on around the world. And if you're not in a safe place, if you're not in a place of refuge, there's a good chance that if you don't get hit militarily, something else could happen to you. And because he says that it's going to be a time of sorrow, it's going to be so bad, men's heart are going to fail them for fear. This is a day that's coming on us. We're going to have to be strong enough mentally and in our hearts and spiritually to withstand a lot of tragedy. And where a lot of tragedy will hit first? When it hits your family. When it hits your family, when it hits your loved ones, when it hits your sons and your daughters, and when it hits your grandchildren. That people will have heart attacks. I was just thinking of when they had that school shooting in Florida. And this man's wife, she was a school teacher in there. And the guy, just shot and killed her, close range, just shot and killed her and everything. And he went to the school, and he seen her and everything, and he mourned. Said he went back to put flowers, at the school there, went home and just gave up the ghost. They said sorrow of heart just took him. And it's scripture that says men's heart's going to fail them for fear. So when loved ones, when it starts to hit your family, you start to see loved ones and stuff, it's going to be painful. It's going to be painful. But what did Yahusha say in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 13? I'm going to read 13 and then 14. Matthew 24 and 13. But he that shall endure until the end, the same is going to be saved or delivered or rescued. You're going to have to endure all the way to the end. In that day and that time, because he even talks about it, that generation, when all of these signs, when you see all these signs, this is the generation that will not pass until this is fulfilled. And so in this generation that we're living, you're going to have to endure. You're going to have to endure and endure to the end so that you can be rescued, that we can be rescued, that we can be saved. And then the next verse says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Now, the Catholic mind looked at this and said their doctrine of their gospel, and that's why they wanted to colonize the whole world and get it out into the whole world, into every nation. And they believe that this verse is talking about them. But what's some of the keys to this verse? When you look at the gospel or the good tidings, it's got to be the good tidings of what? Good tidings of what? Good tidings of Yasharel, the good tidings of his kingdom, right? Because we're praying for his kingdom to come. That's what we're praying for. Abba Yahuwah, we want your kingdom to come. We want you to set up your kingdom now. We want your will to be done. Not just in the Shamayim, but we want your will to be done right here on earth. We want it to happen here on earth. Everybody who says that they know Yahuwah and they have the Ruach of his son, Yahusha, the Ruach HaKodesh, should want the will of Yahuwah to be done right here on earth. There's something wrong with you, or I should say your Ruach, If you don't want his kingdom established here on earth and you don't want his will to be done here on earth, then there's something wrong. You don't have the right ruach. If your ruach is saying, well, I don't care what happens to this world. I don't care what happens. You can blow up the whole thing, just melt the whole thing down. I don't care. But that's not the ruach that he's talking about here. Because the ruach that he is talking about, you should desire for him to set up his kingdom here on earth. I want his kingdom to be set up here on earth. I want the rule of Yahusha, because it was prophesied in the first chapter of Luke that he was going to sit on the throne of who? Daoud his? Well, let's look at it. Luke chapter 1, verse number 32. Luke 1:32. He shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest. Yahuwah El shall give unto him the throne of his father Daoud. So that's why when you go to prophecy and it talks about King Daoud is going to rule. Remember how we read that? We might have to rehearse it again. But it talks about the throne of Daoud. He's going to establish the throne of Daoud for how long? Forever. That's what he says in prophecy. He's going to establish forever because Yahusha is going to sit on that throne. And then verse number 33, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever. And of his kingdom there shall be no end. And that's what we should be praying for. That's what we should be seeking for. That's what we should be desiring for to happen. And not only that, I know that there has to be some conditions met if I'm going to live in that kingdom forever. He's not given his kingdom. What do you think? I know all of us have read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You know, in our lifetime, we've read the Gospels. But how many of you reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, John? I mean, just by reading the Gospels in the days of his ministry. I mean, yes, he was merciful. He was merciful unto the woman that was caught in adultery. He was merciful unto her, but he said, don't do it again. You know, he talked about having the kingdom within you. He talked about what the kingdom was. You can see the kingdom. You can actually see the kingdom in people, whether they have it in them. You can actually see it because you see it through their fruit that they bear or the work that how they present themselves, how they live, how they conduct themselves in the body. You can see those who have the fruits of the Spirit and those whose the kingdom is dwelling in them. Because what did he say in Luke 17:21? He said, neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, where is the kingdom? It's got to be in you. So you'll see it if it's in somebody. You can, I'm not saying just spy on folk. I ain't saying spy on folk, but you can see their lifestyle. You can see their code of conduct. You can see how they conduct themselves. You can see if somebody doesn't have love for their brother, they don't have the kingdom in them. It's not in them. It's not in them. Because he tells us in Jacob, James, he says, if you hate your brother, you're the same as a murderer. That's not in the kingdom. The kingdom of Yahuwah is not in you because the commandment was thou shalt not kill, and talking about your brother, not talking about those who are military that go out to war, because they did have an army. Even when he gave out the commandments in Exodus chapter 20, they had young men that were warriors, because you go to Numbers, the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, it's dealing with the military men, 20 and over, that was able to go to war. So they did have an army, And he did give them instructions, even with Amalek that was there and everything. I mean, he gave them instructions, even to the two kings, King Og, OG, and there was OG, not, yeah, Bashan, Bashan, and then Og. Some people say OG, OG. No, not the OG what they call today, but it was King Og. And they were supposed to take them out, right? And so when he says thou should not kill, he's not talking militarily. What he's talking about is you're amongst the brothers within the nation. You shouldn't have brother up against brother, killing one another. That's not what Abiyah wanted when he says thou should not kill. And then Jacob picks it up and says, well, if you hate your brother, you're just like him. You're just like a murderer who killed his brother. So when I see people who despise one another, then I know, well, I mean, there's some things that it's just pretty obvious when you watch people and you listen to people and everything. There's some things that are pretty obvious. You think, well, they just don't have the kingdom in them. Well, you just pray for them that they, that because let me show you something in Matthew. Well, let's look at Matthew 6:33. And then I'm going to go to Luke 12. Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of Yahuwah. This is what we should be seeking after, right? I mean, notice how all this lines up. I mean, we're praying for his kingdom, right? We're praying for his will. We're seeking after his kingdom. I'm even when seeking after his kingdom, geographically. Sometimes I just want to find out geographically because I don't think it's right where they say it is. I don't think they're in Palestine. I don't think it's there in Palestine. But anyway, just to seek after his kingdom geographically, seeking after his kingdom spiritually, spiritual-minded, seeking after his kingdom when it says what? Righteousness, Yahuwah's righteousness. Righteousness can't just stay up here. What do you do? I'm thinking righteousness. Intellectual righteousness. I'm thinking about it. But your righteousness is what you do. You have to see it. You have to see the righteousness that's in somebody. The righteousness that's in your brother. The righteousness that's in your sister. Within righteousness, I can't do right if I don't know what his will is or what he wants of me. Because righteousness now, like it talks about, it says his righteousness, not your righteousness, because my righteousness, like he said in the prophets of Isaiah, all of our righteousness is as filthy rags. So it's not my righteousness that I'm seeking after, because my righteousness is I might do right to you, but then do wrong to you. See, that's not Yah's righteousness. When we're seeking after Yah's righteousness, then I know how to treat all my brothers. I know how to be equitable. I know how I know how to be patient. I know how to be kind. I know how to be understanding. I know how to speak and conduct myself with them. Because Yah's righteousness is explained throughout his book. He teaches us his righteousness. He taught us his righteousness before Shaul came on the scene. A lot of people wait for Shaul's writings. Shaul didn't write till after his resurrection. When Yahusha says his righteousness, he's talking about his father's righteousness. Where am I going to find his father's righteousness? Well, I got to go back to the instruction book. I got to go back to see what Abba Yah speaks and the oracles and everything that he speaks, because that's where his right. That's what he's talking about. Seek his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Now, seek ye the kingdom of Yahuwah, and all these things shall be added unto you. So we're seeking his righteousness. Now notice what he says in verse number 32. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's, it's Abba's good pleasure to what? I want to give it to you. That's his good pleasure. He wants us to have his kingdom. I want you to have it. He's not stingy. He's not unkind. He's not a robber. He's not wicked. He's not corrupt. He doesn't have, like the way some governments and the hierarchy in governments is set up, and you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and you look at a lot of our government officials, they're paid and they're bought for and they paid, and so you know how they're going to write laws and how they're going to vote on certain things because they're bought and paid for. That's not Abba Yahuwah. That's not him. Because when you look at Abba Yahuwah and he says, I want to give you the kingdom, his righteousness in you, which means I mind the things of Yahuwah. Oh, what did Shaul say about that? When I just said, I mind the things of Yahuwah, what did Shaul say? Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Yahusha, or Mashiach Yahusha Mashiach. The same mind that he had, that's what you should have. So as I'm his righteousness, I'm minding his things. I want to know what his will is, because I'm praying for his kingdom to be set up here. I'm praying for his will to be done here. I'm not seeking my own will and my own way. And even when he tells us to be industrious, didn't he tell us to occupy what? Occupy till I come. That's a part of his righteousness. That's part of his will. He wants you to be industrious. Well, I feel like I want to be industrious, but I don't know if that's Yah's will. Well, you don't know his word. He says, occupy till I come. He gave us the talent in the 25th chapter of Matthew. He gave us the parable, and this is what the kingdom of Shamaim is like. This is what the kingdom of Yahuwah is like. In his kingdom, he's given you talents. Because like he says, it's my good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So in the kingdom, do you know, and I know Yahusha even said in the 26th chapter, or 26th chapter of Matthew, he says, the poor you have with you always. I know that. He said that. Hey, the poor you're going to have with you always. And really, the reason why he said it was because Mary Magdalene, what did she do? Her alabaster box. What did she do with her alabaster box? She broke her alabaster box, which was of great value. And she poured it all over him. And his disciple says, what is this great waste? Well, you wasted all of this. He says, she's doing this unto my burial. I mean, he said, leave her alone, because when you talk about this, the good tidings of my life and everything, she's going to be mentioned in it. That she prepared me for my burial. She prepared it for me. But then he said, because they said, this could have been sold and given to the poor. He said, the poor you'll have with you always. You can always do that, and that's a good gesture to take care of the poor. There's nothing wrong with taking care of the poor, because the poor you're going to have with you always. But it's also Abba Yahuwah's will to give you the kingdom, and in his kingdom, he talks about those that he gave talents to. I gave 5 talents. 1, I gave 2 talents. And 1, I gave 1 talent. So in the kingdom of Yahuwah, and you say you mind the things of the kingdom, and the kingdom of Yahuwah is in me. When you talk about the kingdom of Yahuwah is in you, you have to really search this book and understand this book if you're saying that. Because all the words in here are spiritual and they are life. So I have to self-examine myself when I say the kingdom of Yahuwah is dwelling in me. it's his good pleasure to give me the kingdom. Then there's certain principles that I abide by. There's certain righteousness and action items that I do. I can't, if he's given me something, because he gave the parable, I'm giving this out. So if he's given me something, whoever says, I received this of Abba Yahuwah, he gave it to me. Then if that's the case, he's expecting something. Yah gave me this. Well, what did you do with it? Well, that was 10 years ago. What did you do with it? I ain't got nothing. Oh, but you said Abba Yah gave it to you? So if I'm saying Abba Yah, even with being industrious, and you know how we say about jobs and stuff like that, right? Yah gave me this job. And we say, won't Yah do it? Yes, Yah is good. He's good all the time. Won't Yah do it? Go, Yah, go. I mean, we say, he gave me this job. Okay, that's like giving you a talent or 2 talents or 5 talents. Because once he gives you something, that he's expecting something, and not so much in return to him, but what is he expecting you to do? If he gives you something, what is he expecting you to do? Give him praise over it? But let's think of that parable of the talents, right? He says, I gave you the talents. I'm going away, but I will be back. I'm coming back. So when he gives you that, what is he expecting? He's expecting increase. He's expecting some return. He's expecting something. He's not giving it to you just so you to do nothing. That's a part of his kingdom now. Now, we praying, right? Thy kingdom come. And some folks say, well, the kingdom of Yah is in me. Well, then all of this fruit and all this you should be bearing. You got a lifetime to do it. There are some things that we should master. Shaul says, those who strive for the mastery must strive lawfully. Got to strive lawfully, right? Those who strive for the mastery there's not crowned unless he strive lawfully. You got to do it right. You can't. He doesn't like people who are crooks, right? He don't like crooks. He did give an example. What was that parable? He gave an example of the unjust servant. Yeah. So he wants you to strive for the mastery. He wants you to do it lawfully, but you have to be temperate, which means you have to exercise some patience. And it even says the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, right? But time and chance happens to us all, because don't be like we used to do in the old days. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but he that endureth to the end. Say, and that you just combine 2 scriptures, a hybrid scripture, because in Ecclesiastic it talks about it even, I think it talks about wealth and money and the race to the swift and the battle to the strong, but he says time and chance happens to us all. But when he gives you those talents, he's expecting something. He's expecting you to be productive. He's expecting you to. I didn't give. And he was looking at the one that he gave 5 talents to, probably had more ability in them. Because doesn't it say according to their ability? Is that what it says? We better look at that. Matthew 25. And yes, Matthew 25, verse number 14. But it's actually in verse number 15. Listen to this. For the kingdom of the Shamaim is as a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. Now, this is the kingdom of Shamayim, kingdom of Yahuwah, right? I want to dwell in his kingdom. And unto one, and we say the kingdom of Yahuwah is in me. So keep all these things in mind, right? It is his good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1. To every man according to his what? His ability. Several ability. So the one that he gave 1 to, he didn't give that one. Well, I feel sorry for him. I'm gonna give him 5. And because I know he ain't gonna do nothing with it, so I'm gonna give him 5. Hopefully he'll still have those 5 when I come back. And the one that's got all this ability, I'm only gonna give him 1 because I know he'll take that 1 and make 100 out of it. That's not Abiyah. He says, I'm gonna do it according to your ability. So there's some people who have the ability to produce much, and what does he give them? He gives them much. He gives them a lot. Because they have the ability to produce more. So he gives them more. That's, what is it? Well, I think it might even be in this. I think it's in Matthew 13, actually, when he's talking about the kingdom of Yahweh, because he says, those who have will be given more, and those who have not, that which they have will be taken away from them. Remember we read that? I think it's in Matthew 13th chapter. But anyway, here, according to their several ability. So the ones who are able to produce, he knows what your ability is. And you know, sometimes we look at people and we think, well, I wonder why they have so much. I wonder why did Yah bless them with all that? How come I didn't get that blessing? Because he does it according to your ability. He knows what your ability is. So he might give one brother $1,000, and then he gives another brother $100. Because he knows the brother with $100, he ain't gonna do nothing with it. But the brother with $1,000, I know he gonna make 10,000 out of it. Does that? I mean, when you think of that, how do you measure that? How do you, if you were sitting in the seat of judgment? I'm just gonna let y'all sit in the seat of judgment now. Okay? I'm gonna let you sit in the seat of judgment. If you knew the ability of everybody, and the one who was when you go to these sales and stuff, what do you call them? They're the top producers, top sellers, and they have these different clubs and stuff. Yeah, that they get into, you know, and the Diamond Club, you know, and these are the top producers and stuff. And you know, as a manager, if you are over, like he was, like it says here, he was the okay, I thought they might give his title. I was just kind of but if you were over a team, you was a manager over a team, and you had top producers, medium producers, and then no producers. And then you get a big contract or something big. Are you going to give it to the ones who haven't produced anything? Or are you going to give it to the ones that are in the Diamond Club? Because I know these ones in the Diamond Club, I know they're going to try to get 2 diamonds or 3 diamonds or be the 4 Diamond Club because it's the ability that they have. And so how would you counsel the Most High on that? I just want you to sit in the judgment, because I know for a lot of us, we would think that's unfair. Wouldn't we say that? That's not right. Are you going to tell Yah that's not right? Are you going to do that? Are you going to sit in the seat of counsel and say, why did you do that? Couldn't you see this person was needy? They needed. Because notice now, he says, according to their ability. So the one that he knew, the one he gave 5 to, he knew he would be able to produce 5 more. He knew it because he did it according to their ability. And the one that he gave 2 to, he knew what their ability was, because it says according to their ability. And the one that he gave 1 to, he knew at least you could produce 1. I'm not asking a lot. You only got one talent. Just make one more. That's all. Which is because I know what your ability is, and I know that you're not in a diamond club. So, but you know what? If he would have produced one, he would have got the same accolades and the same award as the one who produced 5. Because he says, I'm doing it according to your ability. So nobody, and it's almost like, this is a different parable, but I was thinking about the time where he went into the marketplace early in the morning and he sent them out into the field. He went back at noon and he seen some still there, so he sent them to work. And then at the end of the day, he seen folks still here looking for jobs, going out there and work for me for a penny. I think that's what it is in that. And so then at the end of the day, you know, the ones who worked an hour got the same thing of those who labored all day. And those who labored all day went to him and said he was unjust. You know, so we have to be careful when we look at Abba Yah, because we might think, that ain't right. You gave this person just 1. And then you gave this person 5. And then the one who didn't do anything, he took that 1 and gave it to the one that had 2 and produced 4. Right? Thank you. He gave it to the one that had 5 and produced 5 more. Not the one that had 2 and produced 4. He gave it to the one that was able to produce more, because he gave it to the one who had the most. So let's look at Matthew 13. Matthew 13. Let's look at verse number 11. Matthew 13:11. Because we have to, do you know the mind of Yahuwah? Because sometimes I don't think we do. I don't think we have the mind of Yahuwah. We more have the mind of a captor, the mind of our captors, instead of the mind of Yahuwah. So let's look at this. He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Shamaim, but to them is not given. Now listen to verse number 12. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath. And so we see the parable of the talent. Because the one that had 1, and he said, I knew you were an austere man. He was afraid. He says, and I wanted to make sure that when you return, I can give you back this talent. You know what he called him? You wicked servant. I mean, this is the kingdom of Yahuwah now that we're praying for, right? He says, you wicked servant. You could at least have done what? You at least could have put it in the bank and got what? Interest or usury. They called it usury. You at least could have put it in the bank and got some usury. At least do that. And you would have got a reward. You wouldn't even do that. And so we have to look at whatever our ability is and whatever he gives us, he's expecting us to be producers. No matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a lot. He gave that. It don't have to be a lot. Oh, I want to be a millionaire. No. Learn how to budget $100 first before you try to attempt to budget $1 million. Because if you can't budget $100, you ain't gonna budget $1 million. It's not gonna happen. If you can't, I got $100, and it's easy to pay tithes on $100 because it's what? $100, it's just $10. Then you give them, you increase it. They go, now they're making $1,000. I can pay $100. I'm making $1,000. I can pay $100. That don't, notice the tone. It changes a little bit. You almost breathe. Did you see how the breathing changed? Now you're making $10,000. man, $1,000 tithe, that's a lot of money. I mean, I can pay it, but it's a lot of money. And you know what we start to justify? I wonder where it's going to go. You wasn't worried about $10. Now that you got increase, now you worry about where $1,000. Why wasn't you worried about where $10 was going? But now you want to worry about where $1,000. Then you get up to $100,000. $10,000 is just too much to pay tithes on. See how we graduate and go like that? So he's saying, hey, if you can do this with $100, I know you can do it with 100,000. If you do it with 100, I know you can do it with $1 million. We're able to increase it. I can increase this. I can increase 1,000. I can increase 10,000. I can increase $1 million. Instead of having the mindset of, man, $1,000, man, that's a lot of money. Because if I'm telling y'all, and you even heard testimonies, somebody got $1,000, and that was their salvation. That was it. That was their salvation. They left. Their prayers answered. $1,000. $1,000. Now this was years ago. Our former pastor, he had the story about when somebody. What was that story about somebody they were asking for a job or asking for some money or something, and then they got the money and everything, and then they never came back. Was that? Yeah, and then they never did come back. So sometimes we have to look at what is my ability, and then you have to move and exercise within that ability, because as he said, it's according to your ability, and we all don't have the same ability. Like on that, when you have the Diamond Club, then you got other clubs too, I'm sure. You got, so it's according to your ability. The Gold Club and Diamond Club and stuff. And like I said, the one that had won, he would have got the same award as those who they had 2 and those who had 5. He would have got the same if he would have put it in the bank and at least got usury out of it. But so when we look at his kingdom, a lot of times our blessings is according to our ability. According to your ability. Notice now he says he gave it to them according to their ability. So a lot of times our blessings that he gives us is according to our ability. And we have to get into position to where we can increase whatever he gives us. I don't care if it's, and a lot of times we look at, okay, they got the ability to bake. Or some of us, even our young people, they're very entrepreneur. And like I said before, when it talks about your children and how you should know your children, and then you train up a child in which they should go. Because a lot of times we got this stigma that you have to go, 12 years of school, kindergarten to senior in high school, and then after that, 4 years of college, and then after that, maybe graduate school or to be successful. You don't do that to be successful. And a lot of our kids are not university-minded children. They're not going to fit in that structure. So we have to know our children from the time they're born to you got to know what's in them. What's their ability? What's their several ability that Yah gave them? And then I want to feed that. I want to train them up in that. Some of our children are very entrepreneurial. They know business. They know how to conduct business. They know how to do business and stuff. Get your head out of that. Go to school. Some of them, instead of going to a university, it might be a trade. Maybe they ought to get a trade or something. They might work good with their hands. They're not going to sit in a lecture class for 4 years. They work good with their hands. And you know that. I know that my son, he's worked good with it. He's very physical. He wants to move around. He's got a lot of energy, a lot of activity and stuff. And he's just not cut out to sit in a lecture hall for 4 years. You have to know your children. And then you have to train them up in that. Show them, hey, you're good at working with your hand. Hey, you might be a good electrician or being able, you like science or something like that. Or some type of trade, and you just kind of grow them up. It might be music. It might be entrepreneur. It might be business. It might be they're good accountants. You know, you just have to know this one is just good with money. Because a lot of times you see your children growing up. You know your children. You might have one child you can give $10 to, and next year they got 7 out of that same 10. Then you might have another child you give $10 to, and when you sit down at dinner, what'd you do with that $10? Oh, it's gone. I mean, you know, you have to know your children, and then you train them up in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. That's understanding the talent and the ability of your child. You know, we always misread it a different way, but that's what he's dealing with. When you know your child and you bring them up in that, they're not going to depart from it. They can be, what's that saying? Teach a man, feed a man a fish and he'll eat for today. Teach a man how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. You know, so that if I teach you, I can give you a fish to eat, but then you're going to come back tomorrow wanting another fish. You know, it's like it says, don't feed a stray cat or a stray dog. You'll never get rid of them. They just always come back. But if I teach you how to do, let me show you how to do this. This is how you earn money. This is how you can have a livelihood. This is how you can take care of yourself for the rest of your life. And you show them that and you teach them that, you don't have to worry about it. I know they're going to have a living. I know they're going to take care of themselves because I know their ability. I know what they're capable of doing. And so I'm going to feed that. I'm going to feed that. And a lot of times, even our daughters can be very industrious. They can be very business-minded. They can be, you know, my wife it's her talent. She just loves teaching kids. She went to school. She was going to get into business and office management and micromanagement and all that. That's what she was going to get into. But she said, that's not in me. That's not me. I want to teach. I want to work with children. And that was just in her. She loves kids. She loves teaching. Abba Yah gives us teachers, y'all. Because you go to some of these schools, everybody can't do that. Everybody can't sit in that classroom and teach these children. They cannot do it. That is a special breed, and Yah puts it in them. Everybody can't be a doctor. Everybody can't be a doctor. I don't know. I wouldn't want no truck driver operating on me. What you get a degree in? I got my CDL. Yeah. No, I'm getting off the table. I'm walking out the room. No, thank you. You know, but some of us can be doctors. Now, me, I can't cut somebody open and look at the bone and the muscle and the blood squirting around. I can't do that. I can't do that. But some people can. They got the nerves. I mean, they cut you open. They just do all sew you back up and they're done. You know, some people can do that. Not everybody do. So he puts it in us because he knows that we have several abilities. So according to our ability, then that's what we have to do. And that's his kingdom. That's his kingdom. And he even said, like we read in verse 12, for whosoever hath, to him it shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. And all of us should know what we're good at and what we can do. All of us should know how to increase, how to be industrious, because he says, occupy until I come, which means you got to take up an occupation, some type of occupation until he comes. Now, he knows the poor is going to be, you're going to have poor people. You're going to have people that are sick. You're going to have people that are maimed. You know, you're going to have handicapped people. You're just going to have that. Now, back in the day, we took care of our parents. You know, we did. We took care of dad, took care of mom when they got old and got sick. We took care of them. Nowadays, send them off. Send them off to the home to die. I ain't got time for them, you know. And back in the day, that's why they had a lot of children because, well, sometimes the children didn't live very long, but they had children and stuff, and it was upon the children to take care of their parents. They didn't have old folks home. What do they call them now? Senior living housing. They didn't have all that. They didn't have that. You had to take care of your own. And so that releases a lot of people today from taking care and honoring their father and their mother. Now, we read in Jeremiah 35, right? Jeremiah 35. And this is an example of honoring your father. Because he says, remember he says, honor your father and your mother, and you're supposed to do it all the days of your life. Honor your father and your mother. Because Shaul says in Ephesians, the 6th chapter, I think he says, this is the first commandment with promise. Because if you honor your father and your mother, you can live, you can live a long time. This whole chapter is a good example of generations that honored their father. Their father had gone. He had died. And these men were committed. Do you know the third generation, when it got down here to the third generation, the third generation didn't make that vow. Y'all notice that? Because we read that, right? I said last week, Jeremiah 35, right? Anybody read beyond? No, I should say raise your hand. Huh? Yeah, I said that, right? Jeremiah 35. Huh? Yeah, Jochebed and his sons and the family and how Jochebed made the vow. And when he made the vow, as for me and my house, like Yahusha said, or Joshua, like he said, as for me and my house, we're going to, he said, choose you this day who you going to serve. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve Yah. And so Jochebed, he was somebody that said, this is my vow, and not only am I going to do it, but my sons and my sons' sons. His sons and his grandsons and successful generation did not make that vow. Huh? What's that? Yeah. They were called Jacobites after their father. Yeah. Yep. Because Jonadab was the son of Rechab, right? And so they obeyed they didn't even make the vow, but they obeyed their father. But notice how the judgment from Yahuwah came down and told he commended Jonadab, the son of Rechab, how he commended, verse number 14, because he told Yasharel, Yehuda, and Jerusalem that they need to listen to the words of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, that he commanded his sons not to drink wine or perform, for unto this day they drink none, but obey their father's commandment. Notwithstanding, I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye hearken not unto me. Okay, so the main point of this, the whole 35th chapter of Jeremiah, is the fact that these sons honor their father's commandments, even if they didn't make the commandment, but they honored their father's commandment. And even when they were tested, because they did test them and try them, because Most High Yah said, go on and do it, they didn't succumb. They said, no, we're not doing it. Why aren't you going to do it? Because our father, it was our father's commandment. And so when you honor, he said, look at these men. They honor their father, and we're talking about earthly father, and he says, I'm your heavenly father. You don't even honor me like that. You won't even honor me like that, like these. So he used them as an example. And if you know the whole story here, because they were not going to build houses or anything, they were going to stay outside of the city, outside the walls of the city, and they're going to live in tents. That was their, and drink no wine. And that was their father's command, or their father's vow, not their vow. That's because you know how some of us would do. Hey, that's my dad's vow. That ain't my vow. That's what granddad said, not me. I ain't taking no ownership to that. Not this family. And he loved it so much, that last verse number 19. Therefore, thus saith Yehu of hosts, the El of Yasharel, Yonadab, the son of Rechab, shall not want a man to stand before me forever. So even to this day, in this family, in the elect, in this family, there's somebody, because the Most High Yah spoke it. So he preserved them. You got some folks in that family, hey, this is the vow that our father has kept, and we're going to keep it. And we're going to honor our father by keeping this. And he even said, these folks, that's what they do. Y'all don't even do that to me. I'm your heavenly father. You don't even honor me like that. Yes. I wouldn't. I'm sure they do. They've got some DNA, but there's some DNA practices they're not going to let out, but I'm sure they do, because you can go back into that land and dig up some of them bones, and you can trace that, but they won't do it. You still got people who don't live in the city. They live outside the gates of the city. And you know how we talk about folks so bad. We think we're so privileged. We're so good. Our toilets and our bathrooms don't stink. I mean, that's how we think about ourselves sometimes. You got some folks, hey, I ain't living in the city. I'm staying out in the country. I'm staying in my tent. I'm going to hunt. These people, I seen somebody on a documentary over in Africa, and these people for generations, they don't even know how old they are, but they've been surviving out there in the bush. They call them the bush people. They've been surviving out there for thousands of years. I mean, they go back and they still survive, and they teach their sons and their daughters, and they have their small community, and it keeps going on and on and on. They might be the ones. I don't know, because I seen a documentary. They might be. He says they will always have somebody before me forever. So somebody is of this lineage that is still before the Most High, that's still living, because they honored their father. And that's how we should do with our Abba. We should honor him. He's our father. If he spoke something from the Shamaim, when he gave oracles from the Shamaim, he's not going back on that. He says, my word has gone out of my mouth. It will not return unto me void. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what your title is. I don't care how big your congregation. I don't care. If it comes from the Shamaim, he says it's not coming back to me void. And if we honor our father, we would keep his commandments. That's what he told us. Just keep my commandments. It's not, Yahukanan said it's not grievous. It's not hard. It's not hard. They want to pound on you 613. No. When I read it and hear how am I supposed to present myself before him, and even Paul says, present your bodies a living sacrifice. You got to be separated or holy, Kodesh, unto him. It has to be acceptable unto him. My offering, my body, everything I do has to be acceptable unto him. So that's why I'm digging into Torah and reading Torah, because I want to know what's acceptable of him. And Yahusha says that in the law, the weightier matters of the law, there's three things that's in the law that's the weightier matters. What are they? Faith, justice or judgment, mercy. So from Genesis to Malachi, as I read his law, I should be able to glean judgment, mercy, and faith. Faith in those men in the old, because it talks about it in Hebrews. These men have faith. He said the world wasn't even worth, how do they put it in Hebrews 11? The world wasn't even worthy of them. And they had faith. They understood the Most High Yah. They knew what he wanted of them. They remained committed unto him. And it says the world wasn't even worthy of them, And he says they all died in faith. So faith is in the Old Testament. Faith is not a New Testament thing. Because when you get to Hebrew, he said all these folks died in faith. Abel died in faith. He was the first one he talked about. He died in faith. So when I read it, I should be able to get judgment, mercy, and faith. Those are the weightier matters of the law. And as I'm studying that, and like we talked about it, the kingdom, like we read in Luke or Matthew 24:14, where it talks about how the good tidings or the gospel of this kingdom has to be preached in all nations for a witness unto Yahuwah. And so the message that he is setting up his kingdom, he is setting up his kingdom here on earth. And we should be seeking after it. We should be praying for it. We should want his will to be done here on earth. And so what does he do? He deposits his kingdom in you. He deposits it in you. And you can see who's in the kingdom because as you read it and you understand what the kingdom is, and then I can look at people and look at their lives, then I know, oh, yeah, I can see the kingdom's in them. The Ruach is in them. It's there. Because this book is going to be, you should be able to see yourself in this book. And how did Shaul put it? You look at the reflection in it and you don't see yourself. Isn't that how he says it? I'm trying to think of how he actually says it. It's in looking in the glass darkly. Yeah. Man, right. That's the one. Because you can look at it and see it and walk away and forget what manner of man that you are. You don't even see yourself. The man that you ought to be? Okay. Yeah. So somebody can find that. We can read it. But so when I look in this book, when I look at the Torah and I read it, I should be able to see myself. That's why when you're reading about the kingdom of the Shamayim that Yahusha talks about, you should be able to read that and see yourself if the kingdom is in you. Now, if you can, I don't know about that, but I sure ain't like that. Well, then maybe the kingdom's not in you. maybe it's not in you. James 1:24. Let's look at that. James 1:24. Okay. Let's look at verse number 22. But be ye doers of the word and not what? Hearers only, deceiving your own selves. So when you get this word, you got to be able to do it. You got to be a producer. It's got to come to life. It's got to come to life. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. So that's why when I look at this book and I hear it, I got to be a doer of it. I got to be able to look at it and see myself, or to see if I'm in here. I got to see if I'm in here. Is he talking about me? Because you know how a lot of us are. He ain't talking about me. That's how a lot of us do. That ain't me. That must be you. And we want to point to our neighbor. But you should be able to look at this book and see yourself. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. Because if you look at this book correctly and be a doer and not just a hearer only, you'll be able to see yourself. And when you don't like what you see, I make the corrections. Because I don't like what I see. You know, you don't want to walk away and forget What kind of person? I'm a sinner. I looked at the book. I see I'm a sinner. I'm just going to go. And you just walk away and you don't make no changes. And before you know it, you don't even think that's a sin. You don't even think it's a sin because you ain't a doer of the word. You can't just hear it. You got to do it. And so as we talk about the kingdom, it's not just hearing it, but I got to do it. I got to be a man of action according to my ability that he's given me. I know I can bring forth fruit. All right? Oh, it's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. But, all right, we'll finish up there. And we thank you for being with us in this Torah study. And we'll be back again on the Sabbath for our Sabbath service. Anybody got any questions or comments? We definitely want to